You know what? On Shed Talk, I'm getting past my 100th episode, but there's things I didn't know that I didn't know, and then all of a sudden I transported into health. But there was this one guy that I had to have come back, Fernandez, HeartFit Clinic, and one of the most important things that I didn't even know was my health. And we started talking about cardiology. We started talking about my heart. But what didn't we know?
Creating curiosity by asking better questions. This is Shed Talk.
Diamond, thank you very much for coming on, because we need to talk more about this, because how many men don't understand about their cardio, their heart, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I mean, I could talk heart disease all night long. You know, that's just something I'm super passionate about, to help people understand what they can do to get cardiovascular longevity, because that's where the space we're in now. Right.
And it's interesting because when we were on before, we were talking about cholesterol in the heart, and then here's the basic knowledge of the heart, which is awesome. But how many of us don't realize, and here I am, fast forward to today, and I had to have you on and talk about what had happened with myself. 240 pounds, sleep apnea, gout, cancer, overweight, going, all right, I'm ready to lose some weight, get into shape after 50. And how many other men are like that? And then all of a sudden, wait a second. The doctor says, oh, you're fine, but wait a second, there's an underlining here. And then that's where I got to learn about the things I didn't know. And how many people ask this question? What is your heart about? And then what is that marker?
So when you talk about heart disease, there's always three pillars I like to bucket people in, and they can overlap with each other. So there's the electrical part of the heart. That's the brain talking to the heart. That's controlled automatically every second. That's something that you don't have to think about. Then there's the structure of the heart. And we got 4 chambers of the heart. We got these valves, like doors that open between the top chambers, the top rooms to the bottom rooms of the heart. And then that pushes blood out to the whole body. And the heart is not a pump. People think of it like a pump. It's not a pump. It's a whole cardiovascular system that is synced together based on pressure volume changes. So it's very unique. And then arteries have to feed the structure of the heart because it's a muscle, but so are these arteries. These arteries are a muscle, and they have to feed blood flow to the heart so it can function the way it's supposed to. So those are the 3 different paths of heart disease, and they can overlap with each other.
Okay, so they're overlapping, and I was looking at the thing.
They can, yeah.
So the heart as a muscle, when you look at it, if you were to actually unfold it, it's just one big long muscle. That is, and I thought it was just 2 different chambers and you just put them together and then here you go.
Yeah, no, it's a whole muscle, but so are the arteries. The arteries that feed the muscle are also a muscle. And people think of them like pipes and just, blood flow goes to it. And we talked about this earlier, is that cholesterol accumulates to this pipe and you have a last cheeseburger and fries and you have a heart attack. It doesn't happen that way. So there's a lot of biology to be paying attention to that vessel wall, because the integrity of that artery wall is very important as well.
So on the artery wall, and I'm only going back because when we talked about mine as being overweight, an alcoholic, drinking too much, sleep apnea, all these things, and all of a sudden I changed my life at 50. Then all of a sudden, everything seems to be good. The doctors are reading my charts. Hey, you've just literally, you had high cholesterol, you were here, now all of a sudden you're eating well, and then you get here, and then all of a sudden, wait a second. From the doctor's point of view, you're on the right scale, and they put you in a silo. Would you call it a silo?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in a silo, and they say, okay, you're in this range. But actually, that's not really the right answer to have.
Not when it comes to cardiovascular longevity.
Okay.
Right? Because a lot of our clients, we've got, clinics across the country now. And when someone comes and sees us, they might already have a private doctor, or they already went down to the US to get some big private testing done because their heart is important to them. But the problem is, when you do those type of things, we're still following an archaic model when it comes to navigating and testing for cardiovascular disease. Because people think of these arteries still like a pipe. It's not, it's a muscle. Now, there are important things to get to check the electrical part of the heart. That's an ECG. We can do that quickly on our phones, or there's a lot of gadgets now that we can look at that. Then there's the structure of the heart. Now we got gadgets that we can keep track of the structure of the heart. And then there's the plumbing, but we haven't figured that part out yet in terms of a wearable device. We've got the other 2 figured out, but the arteries, people think, well, I need to go down to the US or go to a private doctor to get an angiogram to see what the plumbing looks like. And that's the wrong way to look at the artery, because these arteries, there's a lot of biology to it. And this is, I think, where we fail as a healthcare system, that, hey, your arteries are clean, your pipes are clean. I went to the US and, you might have some small blockages, and people talk about calcium scores and CT angiograms like, oh, I got that done, check. No, it doesn't work that way. It's about understanding the biology, because the moment the biology of your artery wall goes south, so does the health of your artery walls. And artery disease, there are so many markers that happen for artery disease, and there are hundreds of things that can cause heart disease. Cholesterol is not even one of them.
What would be the major one?
Inflammation.
And how do you get inflammation?
There are hundreds of things that can hurt the lining of the artery. Well, I mean, we're exposed to so many things nowadays, like environmental toxins, heavy metals, even, unfortunately, viruses that are floating around like COVID. I've never seen so many people get so much infections and inflammation to the vessel wall because of these things that are happening. But when you look at this, the foods that we eat, the foods that we don't know that we should be eating, the environment that we're putting our genetics in, our gut health, like there's just so many things, literally hundreds of things that can hurt that lining of the urinary wall. Cholesterol is not even one of them. It doesn't even fall in the top, whatever, X.
And what's interesting, it's kind of like the silent killer. And so that the only reason why I knew I was an AFib, so I went into AFib, and it was like, oh, my Apple Watch went off. Okay. And it says, oh, you're an AFib. Oh no, I'm going to die. I got AFib, and all of a sudden I'm worried. I'm all this. I go to the I go to the hospital, and they're saying, yeah, you're an AFib. Well, and my AFib was at 80. Okay. So it's pretty normal as being in shape and being fit. So then all of a sudden it's like, okay, so I guess I'm fine right now. And I would come out of it, and then I'm back in it. And then they cardioversion me out of it a few months later or whatever. Now I'm back in it again. And I'm going, okay, I eat healthy. I didn't even know I was an AFib because, okay, I'm eating healthy, I'm working out, I'm doing this, but what are the markers before that happen? Oh, you were talking about cholesterol not being part of it, and then all of a sudden AFib becomes the electrical current, and then gut health, and how important gut health was.
So let's unpeel that onion a little bit more, because when you go to the hospital and you want to understand where your risk is of something, so AFib is a very common arrhythmia. Other people might get what we call premature atrial contractions or premature ventricular contractions. And I can think of many cases where people end up with a problem because the autonomic nervous system has been compromised. Okay, what is that? Your brain sends a signal down to the heart, down the spinal cord, for your heart to contract. So in order for that signal to happen very well, there are things that can affect it. It's not, so the common ones are artery health. Maybe it's a warning sign that the arteries, remember, they got to expand and contract. It could be structure of the heart. Maybe a valve is off. Maybe a chamber is a little bit bigger than where it should be. So could be some structural abnormalities, or it could be the plumbing, even though the arteries are not a pipe. So when we look at those type of things, it could be those two things are our biggest ones. But when you go to look and investigate under that side of things, which I'll talk about, and that's the reason why I wrote the book, Death of the Stress Test. And it sounds like I hate stress tests. Well, that's all I did. When I worked for Total Cardiology back in the day, I was running hundreds of stress tests. In fact, early on, I think it was within months of me starting off solo on my own. I was like, gosh, I was 23 at the time or something. I don't know. I don't remember. But I ended up having a cardiac arrest happen right in front of me. And it was definitely, I don't know.
While the guy's doing a stress test.
While the guy's doing a stress test.
Oh.
And so it happened right in front of me. And of course, I increased my confidence quite quickly after that, because it's like, okay, this is the worst that can happen. And that person survived, and it was good. And we had a good outcome, and had a great team to be able to help with that code. And this was all happening in Lindsay Park when I was there at the time, now called MNP Center, I think now. But the point is that it sounds like I hate the stress test. I don't. I hate the outcomes, because what it tells you is that, hey, everything's fine. When no, you'll miss a lot of underlying disease 90% of the time. Or, hey, wait a minute, we found a plumbing problem, and now we got to go down this path of a lot of radiation testing and doing unnecessary testing when it's not the path that we need to do anymore. So it's like, okay, what should we be doing is addressing the artery biology. But our conventional healthcare system doesn't look at past cholesterol because they're only drugs to help. They check blood markers that they can cure with a pill.
And that's so true because everybody's been pushing pill. And I remember going in there, and when they're saying to myself, they're saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. And I mentioned that earlier, as then, here you are. Okay, you're an AFib right now. You don't have a heart attack. Unless you feel something here, we'll bring you in. But we're not going to cardio you out in order to do ablations for another 2 years. So just to keep you here, we're going to give you these pills for 2 years. That's going to make you old. And I'm just going, you're putting me in this silo. What about the other side where that's where you offered and opened up a whole new Pandora box and wait and said, there's another way of doing this. And everybody seemed to fight to go to that side, to say, here's a cardiologist, they want this, but to say there's another way, I haven't seen that.
And there are a lot of cardiologists that if you line them all up together, they would give you different, they got their better medication to take, or, I like to dress it this way, or, you should also take this. So let's talk about AFib for a second, specific to you, because there are beta blockers, there are antiarrhythmic drugs, there's making sure your blood pressure is controlled, because that's a big one for AFib, because that can affect that. We want to make sure that maybe, and then your blood is thin enough that in the event that you have a stroke, that you're covered, right? Because the last thing you want is a clot going to your brain, right, and having a heart attack. Well, there are natural ways that you can do that, and it depends on other factors that are going on. So for me, the biggest concern with AFib is what is your heart attack or stroke risk? And that's what we get into at the clinic to be able to see the artery biology really well. We don't do that in the conventional healthcare system. So you're being treated with AFib the same way that the last person left with AFib. And everybody in the hospital that is there today is being treated very relatively the same way. That's not personalized. That's what we call generalized medicine. And we can't fault people for that. That's not the intention, because if you're having a heart attack, if you're having an emergency situation, I think we're very blessed for the healthcare system that we have. Mm-hmm. Or people want to call it a sick care system. But that's important. I think that's a blessing that I think we have that luxury. We got really great physicians to deal with emergency situations that happen. But if you're really trying to prevent and get longevity out of your cardiovascular health, that's where our healthcare system is not a healthcare system.
Oh, and you are so right, because I've been on that train, and then going over on this part, and we're going, okay, now I'm on this side of it, and they're going, no, it was like today even getting what do we call blood thinners? Getting blood thinners. Oh, well, you had them for 3 months. Well, you got to go back in. Well, how do I do preventative? And it's interesting because I had the things that you don't know. And men, especially, I'm going to talk about this, is don't ask a better question. In other words, you don't have to rely on one doctor. If your cardiologist says this, get 4 more different doctors that can help out.
We're in a different world now, right? When I started my career, the internet was just fresh. It was like, now we've got Google. Now we've got Google at our fingertips, right? Now we've got all these chat GPTs and AI search things. It's right at our fingertips. So when you go see your doctor, they're very smart. They know what they're talking about, hopefully, but you can verify it with the phone now. And I have a lot of personal friends that are physicians, and they would refuse to see patients if they had Googled their condition prior to coming in.
Oh, they would.
They'd be like, I'm not, if you think that's good enough, then you go that way.
Right.
And I'm like, look, you can't, we're human. We have the luxury of having these devices right at our fingertips. So you can't stop people from doing it now. Like that, like the mobile phones came out, late 2007, 8, somewhere on there, 5, anyway, somewhere in that range there, right? And the internet was there in early 2000s, really well, running well. You can Google everything and get answers for things. Well, now we're in the world of ChatGPT and AI searching. And so it's just like, and it's not always right. That's not the point. The word doctor actually in Latin means teacher. So let them teach you, let them guide you as to what is, it's taking that data and putting it together to guide you well. And when you talk about second opinions, yes, you can search and do the searching to check that out. That's important, but it's important to talk to a few people so that you get that your heart, your body is important to you. So that's what I say on that. And then the other thing I think is very important is that we get all these drugs thrown at us, and it's like, okay, well, now I can chat the side effects and this. There are 3 important questions to ask when you're taking a drug, and not many people do. Number 1, if I'm going to take this drug, how much longer am I going to live? Right? I'm 50 years old and I've got a runway of, let's say, another 50 years old or more, whatever it is. I think we have the capacity of getting even higher than that. But if I have this drug and I'm going to take this, you're asking me to take this for the rest of my life, how much longer am I going to live? So that's question 1. Okay, so then question number 2 is that if I take this drug, what are the benefits? Okay, we'll lower this, improve this, whatever it is. Let's take your blood thinner, for example. It'll thin your blood so that you will prevent a stroke or a heart attack. Okay, well, if I take that drug, what are the benefits, the true benefits? Like, what is the percentage benefits? So it's what we call a number needed to treat. How many people need to be walking into a doctor's office to prevent one heart attack or stroke? So if it's 100, okay, 100 people need to be walking into a doctor's office to prevent one heart attack or stroke. So that's a number needed to treat of 100, or 1% risk reduction. Okay, now I know what my benefits are. Okay, I'm going to take this pill for the rest of my life to have a 1% risk reduction. Not great, but at least I know, right? You're asking the important questions. And the third important question is, what's the number needed to harm? Same thing with the number needed to treat, but the opposite is that, okay, if I take this drug, how many people are going to get side effects from this? What are all the side effects that can happen, and how many people actually get this side effect? That's the number needed to harm. So let's say that is also 100, right? So 100 people take the medication, 1 person gets a side effect. Now those numbers are a lot lower. They're more like around 10, but let's say it's equal. Now we know the risk is equal to my benefit, right? The benefits, risks, it's the same. And I know how much longer. Hey doc, you told me I'm going to live an extra X years later. Okay, that's good. But these are important conversations to have with your doctor when you get prescribed any medication. So you know, because it's like, okay, let's come back to AFib. What happens if I eat well, or I keep my blood thin with some other means or methods, right? What happens then? Oh, there's no data on that. Well, what if? What if there was? And there's data coming on that. But the problem is, who funds that stuff that is natural?
Hey, take a minute and smash that subscribe button, and let's get back to the episode.
And my concern, and I get this all the time, especially with people with blood thinners, is most of the time it'll start to affect your digestive tract. Okay, no problem. I have no problem with side effects as long as you heal them. So if I'm going to take a blood thinner for the rest of my life, I need to make sure that my gut health is going to be good for the rest of my life as well. Because the last thing is, I want my gut, my digestive tract, because most diseases start in my digestive tract. So blood thinners are important, but there's a side effect with that. And when we look at coming back to the root cause, is the reason why you are in AFib, it's like unpeeling an onion. Is it gut health related? Is it micronutrient related? Is it some food imbalance that you have? Is it your microbiome that's off? So that's all kind of nutrition focused. What about heavy metals? Do I have mercury fillings? Have I been exposed to some environmental toxins that I don't know about? That can affect my autonomic nervous system. Is it hormonal imbalances? Hormonal imbalances are big, right? We're turning 50, we're turning an age, and it's like, okay, now I got to make sure my hormones are balanced, right? Testosterone and estrogen and all the hormones that you want, you got to make sure that they're balanced well. What affects that hormone imbalances? Well, big ones is sleep and stress, right? So it's unpeeling the onion, whether it be from nutrition to heavy metals to hormonal imbalances to even genetics. Our genetics tells us so much about us, and it's the environment that you put your genetics in that maybe has turned something on. So these are the things that you want to unpeel the onion as to the reason what is affecting the brain talking to the heart. And is it just truly an electrical problem, or is there something underlying going on there? And that is an onion to unpeel. And then when you come to a clinic like ours at the HeartFit Clinic, we get into unpeeling that onion, because my biggest concern is, what is the artery health looking at? And when we talk about the biology of an artery wall, it's a live organism. You can feel it. You can feel it expand and contract in different spots in the body. These arteries are expanding, contracting, and delivering blood flow. You can feel it. And if it's not functioning properly, then you have to start to look at the biology, because getting a heart attack is way too late.
Oh, totally too late.
Getting a stroke is way too late. That didn't happen, because I had a cheeseburger last night. That happened with years or months or decades of concerns.
That you never even noticed.
That you never even know. And so that's what is important. I can't stress this enough. We, as a healthcare system, fail looking at the biology. And it's not their fault. It's not their problem. Like, their idea of looking at biology is cholesterol, because there's a pill to fix it. Well, gosh, you can take care of cholesterol and still have a heart attack. In fact, the number needed to treat for, if you give a cholesterol lowering pill to someone who's never had one, is almost negligent. It's under 1% for sure. So it's like, okay, well, 150 people need to be walking into a doctor's office to prevent one heart attack or stroke. So it's not cholesterol, but that's all we have in our toolbox. We just check that. You know, if you tell someone to make sure your greens and vegetables and your nutrients are balanced, and that's not heard of, because we don't go testing for those things.
And it's interesting, because I only recognized it because my Apple Watch went off with technology. Mm-hmm. And how many people out there are walking around like a time bomb, doing the same thing over and over, not doing the proactive approach that I was even looking at, that I recognized that my AFib was at, that my watch had it. And then all of a sudden they're out doing something. Then next thing you know, I just saw that guy last week. He was awesome. He just up and died had a heart attack. Just
how many times have we heard that?
Oh, the silent killer. Like, it's like, holy crow. And here it is. And then here we are, proactive. Now I go into your place and say, okay, had AFib. I'm in AFib. They're going to cardio me out probably in a couple years. A couple years, because it's not low enough. And then all the doctors, and that's what the doctors are saying. But then all of a sudden, now we're getting into, what is peeling the onion? You've said it. Say, okay, we're going to peel back the onion. But where's that starting point of the onion?
I think it's important to understand what is affecting your artery health the most. I think that's the important part, because if you have AFib, our biggest concern as a healthcare professional is, where's your risk of a stroke or a heart attack? Because it's a clot that can generate because the atria is shaking a little bit. And when a clot can form, that's why blood thinners are good, because it thins the blood. But does it prevent a heart attack? It's very minimal, right? It's not what causes it. It's just like, in the event you have it. So why not heal and make sure that the tissue is at its healthiest as possible? So I always like to look at where your risk is of heart attack or stroke. And if I can share your data.
Yes.
It's, when you look at it, we don't know what came first, right? We don't know. There's such thing as overexercise, because overexercise can damage the lining of the artery wall. There's a lot of data, a lot of marathon runners, a lot of ultra marathon runners, especially master athletes. We consider them at a certain age. I think it's 35, but they have a lot of calcification to the vessel wall, and it means that the disease is starting to progress. So what I'm trying to say is that artery health becomes very important to get to the biology. And when we looked at your artery wall, and when we look at anybody's, we understand, okay, there are three important things. What's hurting it? What can sliver into that lining of the artery wall? It is cholesterol, but it's cholesterol particle sizing, right? It's not just looking at cholesterol. But then when something slivers inside the skin, it can get infected. And then that infection response comes important too. So those markers are important, because we don't know what came first. Is it the AFib that is affecting the artery wall, or was it the artery wall that caused the AFib? We don't know that part. And it's hard to know that part. And most people say, okay, well, the artery wall, let me go do a CT angiogram or a calcium score. And that's the wrong way to look at it. Now, it's nice. Don't get me wrong, but I never lean someone to that because it's a lot of radiation and radioactive dyes, and it's not necessary to go through if you're feeling okay. Now, if you're having a heart attack, that's a different story, right? So it's about understanding the biology, and I think that's where we start, is when we address the biology, then that puts you in a better health state, because you can live a long time with AFib or extra beats, PACs, premature ventricular contractions. Bundle branch blocks. You can live with those things for a long time. The intention is to make sure your artery is healthy, right? That the artery is functioning like it's supposed to, that it's working like it's supposed to, because that's priority number uno. Because if we attached all your vessels together, where we're standing today, it would go around the world not once, not twice, but almost 3 times.
Really?
And so we want to make sure all your arteries are good, right? To your brain, to your fingertips, to your big toe.
So AFib, and I'm going in this.
Yeah.
You can live in AFib. People have watches right now, and I'm going back to the watch thing because I'd asked that question before with cardiologists. Is it great to have an Apple Watch to monitor this?
I think so. I think it's important to have some metrics to see what data is. I mean, if you have metrics to see what your sleep's doing, because sleep can affect hormonal imbalances, right? We talked about this, and so that could be a marker. You know, if you're busy and you're pushing and you're trying to, sometimes sleep gets compromised. Well, we don't want to compromise sleep. And so if you have a metric to see, here's my sleep and I'm trying to get a good score, then it gamifies that, hey, I'm going to go to bed early. I'm going to, put my phone away for a couple hours. I'm not going to, be on my phone before I go to bed or even when I wake up, right? It's about getting the rhythm. Your sleep time is as human beings, we're designed to sprint and recover.
Yeah.
Right. And so we got to recover well.
It's like bodybuilding, rip, tear, and grow. Tear, grow.
Yeah.
And when you talk about stress, and people had asked me the same question. So I eat healthy, compete, do fitness all the time.
Yeah.
And then they say, well, what's your stress like? I have no stress. Well, what do you mean you don't have no stress? Well, I don't know what stress is.
Yeah.
So what would be the terminology of, because we talk about stress, okay, not having stress, but what is stress? Because what my outlook and what stress is, I don't think I have stress. And someone goes, oh no, you're very stressful. I sleep well, I eat well. I think, well, it must be your stress, or you're working out too much. Maybe it's the stress of working out too much. I'm going, no, I feel pretty good.
I was just going to say that. So stress comes in different ways, right? And so if you talk about stress on the artery wall, that's what we're most concerned about, is when we have stress, it changes hormonal balances to things that can hurt the lining of the artery wall. Because think of the artery wall, it's all skin. What can hurt that? Stress is something that can affect that. And if you don't think you have stress, that's a good thing. But I also think it's important to meditate, to have breath awareness so that you can recover from those things. But I also think stress, that's why over-exercise can be a stress marker on the artery wall as well, right? Just as not sleeping as well can be a stress marker. Just as, hey, I got a deadline to meet and I got to meet this deadline and I might get stressed about it. Well, that's fine. It's how you combat with stress becomes the important part. And sometimes we don't know. I mean, it's nice to know that, hey, I'm a stress-free, carefree guy. That's great. It's fun. Everybody's life is perfect, and that's good. But then you got to look beyond that. I think everybody is unique. Everyone has a personalized reason as to why they are where they are. And what I'm seeing more and more, like I was just talking with someone last week, and I did a virtual consult with someone. They're in the US. So they paid to do a consult with us. We ended up talking. And this guy, I think he was like 48, 47, late 40s for sure. And he was getting these extra beats and he wasn't sure what's going on. And I'm like, okay, well, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And I go, also start to look at why do you have this? And so I started to dig in a little bit more with him. And I started to ask, just because it's been a common theme lately. And I said, do you have any, fillings in your mouth that are mercury? And he goes, no, I don't. But I have some silver in my mouth. Is that mercury? And I'm like, yeah, that is. And so that mercury can be, it's so toxic. It's so toxic. We got it so wrong. And people don't realize what's happening when you do this. And people are like, okay, well, I'll just go to a dentist and remove it. And when you remove it, you release a lot more mercury. So you almost got to do it properly in the event that you end up doing that. And that's something we can talk about a lot. But my point of the story is that just getting into the environmental toxins or the toxins that are in his mouth because he was a carefree guy, exercised all the time, no problems. And now all of a sudden he's got a good job. He's got a wife, kids, family, everyone's good. But yeah, I'm like, go look at that. And so anyway, we're going to work with him to get some testing done with him. But that's important. When you just ask the right questions as a healthcare professional and I have an answer, that's the important part, because it just goes beyond, hey, your cholesterol's good? Okay, good.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, I went to the doctor last week or last year, everything's good, and next thing you know, whoa, I hear it. I don't feel good.
Just started before I came here. Is a patient was telling me a story. I think it was his cousin. I can't remember now, but dropped of a heart attack after the gym. Now he's in a coma. Had a cardiac arrest, and super fit guy.
Yeah.
You know, and it happens, and people think, well, then I'm just going to eat cheeseburger and fries. No, that's not. There's a balance here. Life is all about a little bit of balance. Like, you got to know, I think ignorance is not bliss. Mm-hmm. You know, you got to know some things, and it's important to get some metrics, and everybody listening to this is important. You're important. And knowing that you are important, you're going to go invest and see and investigate, what more can I do here?
And it's interesting, because when you say you invest, everyone invested in, you need to report. Right now, I've actually taken my Apple Watch off for a week.
Yeah.
Just because it says you're an AFib for 100% of the time. So I'm going to the gym.
Yeah, not necessary now.
Now it's not necessary. Yeah. But one of the things I start thinking about when we talk about stress is weight loss. Mm-hmm. Because I would lose 30 pounds, put 30 pounds back on. Mm-hmm. Lose 30 pounds. Now, is it hard to diet? No, not at all. Is it hard? No, it's not hard. It's just a mindset that you do it. But then I start thinking, I wonder, putting my body through the stress of eating. Yes, I go to bed, I sleep, I eat well, everything's good, and then my exercise is great. But that sudden dip, because being 250 pounds, okay, from what I was before to go down to competing in bodybuilding at 160. Mm-hmm. That's 90 pounds of, yes, I'm overweight, but not, yes, it's obese, but going down to like 5%, about 7% body fat. And then that transformation from there, like the body, and I start thinking about, maybe I'm not meant to do that.
When you have a drastic weight loss, you start to release a lot of toxins in your body. And that's just coming from the fat itself. It's got to go somewhere. So the fat is toxic. So it was staying dormant. So then when you activate the weight loss to it, toxins can be released. I can't stress enough, when I see someone with drastic weight loss, it's important to address the toxic burden of that weight loss. Because yes, it's good. You're looking at that now. I mean, I could talk probably hours just on GLP-1s and the Semi Glutides and all the new drugs, the Wegovy coming out, that will weight loss is if that's the goal, you can do that now, right? But is it healthy for you to do?
Right. And now, like I said, it's not a fast. I take 8 months to 7 months to 5 pounds. Oh, sorry. Yeah. If I say 4 pounds a month to bring it down slowly.
It's addressing the toxic burden that could come from it. Just could. That's all.
Right. Interesting.
So just addressing that. And it could be a simple thing like we just taking glutathione, right? Which is a nice antioxidant that helps. It takes away toxic burden in the body.
And one of the things that
might be as early as that, but yeah.
As easy as that.
Might be, yeah.
Well, what was interesting going into your clinic and then going in there and not doing a fast, but there was this, what we call a cleansing, cleanse.
Yeah.
I was blown away because we'd have green tea or the green or South Beach diet, and you did all this. And then one of the things, and I had it, I think it's like medical grade. I don't even know what the name of it. Trust me, I AI'd it. Said, is this the best stuff to get out there? Yes, it's the best stuff to use this.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because taking it and going through it for that 1 month, okay, so going through that, what a big difference. I could feel it, taste it, and it was just a really interesting, it wasn't even like protein. Mm-hmm. And so I can't even remember the name, metabolic or...
Yeah, it was a metabolic reset thing we have, yeah.
So, and for the gut health and how it really changed my gut a bit. And then I never even talked about gut health because I thought it was like a buzzword. All right, we're going to talk gut health now. It's a buzzword. It's a buzz phrase of the century now. Yeah. And now I realize, it's pretty important. And constipated, oh my God. It brought me to a point where I was like constipated right at the end. And I was like, do I have to go to the doctor for this? Thinking of this, well, there must be something here that I'm not doing right. Mm-hmm. Meaning there's something there. So it's very interesting.
It's taking your body through different stages so that you can take it through, like a cleanse, and then you kind of lower inflammation to the gut, and then you go and heal it, and then you restore everything back. So you got to do it in those cycles.
Right.
And people experience amazing changes at the beginning of it just because there are gut health issues, right? There are gut health issues, and that's important to be able to address.
That's interesting. You know what, Diamond? This was awesome having you back on. You're having a great conversation. You guys like, share, hit that button. And you know what? If you're ever looking to get your heart, I don't know, better than it was, it doesn't hurt to get it checked one day at a time. Is there any last comments you'd like to make?
No, you have one heart, so love it, take care of it. That's important. So
awesome. Thank you for joining me on Shed Talk.
Thanks so much.
Now you know. Shed Talk.